I stood there at my son's wedding reception when my daughter-in-law Amber publicly demanded the keys to my 300-acre farm in front of 200 guests. She announced it was rightfully hers now since she married my son Tyler. When I calmly refused, Amber slapped me hard across the face. The crowd gasped. My cheek burned. Everyone stared in shocked silence. Without a word, I walked toward the exit, pulling out my phone to dial a number Amber never expected existed. The sound of my boots against the polished wooden floor echoed through the suddenly quiet reception hall. Whispers erupted behind me like wildfire spreading through dry grass. My face still stung from the slap, but the pain in my chest cut far deeper. I kept walking, my phone already in my hand, thumb hovering over a contact I had not called in far too long. 6 months earlier, everything had seemed so different. I remember the first time Tyler brought Amber to Sunday dinner at the farmhouse. She arrived in a sleek gray sedan, stepping out in heels that seemed impractical for the gravel driveway. Her smile was bright, her handshake firm, and her eyes swept across my property with what I mistook for appreciation. She worked in real estate development, she told me, and had always admired rural properties. Tyler beamed beside her, prouder than I had seen him in years. My son was 32 then, still living in town but visiting the farm every weekend like clockwork. After his mother passed 10 years back from cancer, it had been just the two of us. I raised Tyler alone on this land, teaching him how to mend fences, rotate crops, manage the small cattle operation, and respect the earth that fed us. 300 acres of prime farmland, sitting just outside the expanding suburbs, land my grandfather had purchased in 1943 for almost nothing. Now it was worth approximately $4 million, according to the latest county assessment. I had always planned to leave it all to Tyler when the time came. There was never any question about that. He was my only child, my legacy, the reason I kept working this land even as my joints ached more each winter. But I wanted to do it right, set up trusts and protections so he would never lose it to taxes or bad decisions. That was why I had been meeting with estate lawyers for months, planning the perfect surprise. 3 months before the wedding, Tyler started changing. The weekly visits became bi-weekly, then monthly. Phone calls went unreturned. When we did talk, he seemed distracted, giving short answers and making excuses about being busy with wedding planning. I tried not to worry. Young men getting married had a lot on their minds, I told myself. But something felt wrong in my gut, that same instinct that told me when a storm was coming or when a cow was about to calve. One afternoon I drove into town for supplies and stopped at the Main Street coffee shop. That was where I saw them through the window. Tyler and Amber sat in a corner booth, heads close together. I almost walked in to say hello, but something made me pause. Through the glass I could read Amber's lips clearly enough. Your father is holding on to something that should already be ours. That land could be developed. We could be millionaires. Tyler's face showed discomfort, but he did not disagree strongly. He nodded slowly, looking down at his coffee. My stomach turned over. I left without going inside, drove home in silence, and sat on my porch until dark trying to make sense of what I had seen. I confronted Tyler gently the next time he visited. "Son, is everything all right? You seem distant lately." He denied any problems, blamed work stress and wedding anxiety. I wanted to believe him. What father wants to think his own child might betray him? 2 months before the wedding, Amber came to the farm alone. She said she wanted to get to know the property better, understand where Tyler grew up. I gave her a tour, showing her the original homestead barn from 1897, the creek that never ran dry, the north pasture where we kept the cattle. She asked pointed questions. Who holds the deed? What does your will say? Have you thought about what happens to this place when you are gone? The questions made me uneasy, but I tried to be welcoming. She was going to be family after all. She made comments about how outdated everything looked, how the land could be put to better use, how development was spreading this direction, and property values were climbing fast. I smiled and nodded, but my unease grew. 1 month before the wedding, my neighbor Dennis stopped by. Dennis was 70 years old, a Vietnam veteran who lived on the adjoining 40 acres. We had been friends for 35 years. He looked troubled when he sat down at my kitchen table. "Hunter, I need to tell you something," he said. "I saw that girl of Tyler's showing some men around your property boundaries last week. Men in suits with surveying equipment. I asked around town. Turns out, she has been requesting county survey maps and zoning information. She has been checking what this land could be subdivided into. My blood went cold. I drove to the county office the next day and confirmed it. Amber had requested every public document related to my property. Zoning regulations, soil surveys, water rights, road access easements. She was mapping out a development plan before she even married into the family. I should have confronted them then. I should have stopped the wedding. But I was a fool. I thought maybe I was misunderstanding her intentions. I thought maybe Tyler would come to his senses. I thought the wedding might bring clarity, that once they were married and the stress was over, we could all sit down and talk honestly about the future. Dennis had warned me plainly. That woman has calculating eyes, Hunter. She looks at your land the way a hawk looks at a rabbit. But I had not wanted to believe my son could be part of something so deceitful. Tyler was a good boy. He had his struggles, sure. A few failed business ventures I had funded over the years. Some poor choices with friends and money. But he had a good heart. At least I thought he did. Now, walking out of his wedding reception with my face burning from his wife's hand, I knew I had been blind. Amber had been planning this for months, and somehow she had convinced Tyler to go along with it. The public demand for the keys, the slap when I refused, it was all theater designed to humiliate me into submission in front of everyone we knew. But she had made one critical mistake. She thought I was alone. She thought I had no one to turn to, no one who could fight back. She had no idea about the phone call I was about to make. I pushed through the venue doors into the late afternoon sunlight. The parking lot was half full of cars, their windshields glinting. I reached my old Ford pickup, climbed inside, and finally pressed the call button. The phone rang once, twice. Then a voice I had not heard in far too long answered. "Dad, are you okay?" My daughter Samantha. The one person Amber did not know existed. My hand shook as I held the phone to my ear. Samantha's voice carried the sharp edge of immediate concern, that lawyer's instinct for sensing when something was terribly wrong. "Sam, I need you," I managed to say, and my voice cracked on the last word. There was a pause. Then her tone shifted into something fierce and protective. "What happened? Tell me everything right now," I told her. The public humiliation, the demand for the keys, the slap, all of it. As I spoke, I watched the venue doors through my rearview mirror, half expecting Tyler or Amber to come after me. My cheek still throbbed where her hand had connected. When I finished, Samantha's response was immediate. "I am getting on a plane right now. Do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything. Do not even talk to them without me there. I will be there in 4 hours. Can you hold on that long?" "I can hold on," I said. Samantha was 35 years old, a corporate attorney in Chicago specializing in property law and estate disputes. She made partner at her firm 2 years ago, handling cases worth millions of dollars. She was brilliant, fierce, and stubborn as a mule. She got that last trait from me. But she and Tyler had not spoken in 5 years. The fracture happened over something that seemed small at the time, but revealed deeper wounds. After their mother died, there had been a dispute over jewelry. Their mother had left specific pieces to each of them in her will, but Tyler claimed Samantha had taken more than her share when she came home for the funeral. Samantha accused Tyler of being entitled and lazy, pointing out that she had built her own life while he had burned through several business ventures funded by my savings. Tyler accused Samantha of abandoning the family, of caring only about her career in the big city, of forgetting where she came from. The argument ended with both of them shouting, then not speaking at all. I tried for years to reconcile them. Sunday dinners with one while the other refused to come. Phone calls that went nowhere. Birthday cards returned unopened. Both of them were too proud, too hurt, too stubborn to take the first step toward forgiveness. So I maintained separate relationships with each of them. Tyler visited the farm when Samantha was not around. Samantha flew home twice a year when Tyler was guaranteed to be out of town. They lived parallel lives that never intersected, and I stood in the middle feeling like I had failed them both. Tyler never told Amber about Samantha. I knew this because when I mentioned my daughter once in Amber's presence, Tyler cut me off quickly and changed the subject. Later he told me privately that there was no point bringing up ancient history, that Samantha was not part of his life anymore, and Amber did not need to know about family drama. I thought it was shame. Now I wondered if it was strategy. If Amber knew I had a daughter who was a property lawyer, would she have been more careful? "Dad," Samantha's voice pulled me back to the present. I need you to answer some questions. Have you signed any documents recently? Anything Amber gave you? My stomach dropped. 2 weeks ago. Amber brought over a stack of papers. She said it was wedding-related, vendor contracts and coordination forms. I signed without reading carefully. There was so much other paperwork for the wedding, and I trusted them. Samantha was quiet for a beat, and when she spoke again her voice was cold with controlled anger. Dad, that might have been a power of attorney or a quitclaim deed. We need to act fast. Go home right now. Find every document you signed. Put them somewhere safe. I will be there as soon as I can. I am calling a car to take me to the airport now. What if Tyler comes to the house? Do not let him in. Not until I get there. I know that sounds harsh, but Dad, you do not understand how serious this is. If Amber has been planning this, she will have covered her bases. She will have documents, witnesses, maybe even forged signatures. We have to assume the worst and work backward from there. Okay, I said. Okay. Sam, I am sorry. I should have called you sooner. I should have told you what was happening. You are calling me now. That is what matters. Her voice softened just slightly. Dad, I never stopped caring. I was angry at Tyler, not at you. I should have come home more. I should have kept better track of what was going on. But we will fix this. I promise you, we will fix this. She hung up to make arrangements, and I sat in my truck feeling the weight of everything pressing down on me. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Tyler burst out of the venue doors, looking around frantically. He spotted my truck and started running across the parking lot. I could have driven away. Part of me wanted to. But this was my son, the boy I had raised, and I needed to look him in the eyes and understand how we had gotten here. Tyler reached my truck and knocked on the window, breathing hard, his tuxedo jacket flapping open. Dad, wait. Please. We need to talk. I rolled down the window but did not get out. My jaw was tight, my hands gripping the steering wheel to keep them steady. What do you want to say to me, Tyler? He looked desperate, confused, younger than his 32 years. Dad, Amber did not mean to slap you. She is just passionate about our future. She wants us to be secure. Secure? I repeated. By stealing from your own father? His face twisted with confusion and defensiveness. You do not understand. Amber told me things. She said you were planning to sell the farm. She said she saw documents, heard you on the phone with developers. She said you were going to take all the money and move to Florida and leave me with nothing. The manipulation was so complete, so thorough, that for a moment I could not speak. Amber had constructed an entire false reality, and Tyler had believed every word. Did you ever ask me? I finally said. Did you ever just come to me and say, Dad, I heard this rumor. Is it true? Did you ever give me the chance to explain? Tyler looked away, shame creeping into his expression. You have been secretive lately. You stopped sharing business decisions. You seemed distant. It made sense that you might be planning something. He was right about that much. I had been secretive. The meetings with estate lawyers, the consultations with accountants, the careful planning of trusts and protections. I had kept it all private because I wanted to surprise Tyler with a perfectly structured inheritance, something that would keep the farm in the family for generations. My secrecy, born from love and good intentions, had given Amber the opening she needed to plant lies and doubt. I was planning something, I said slowly. I was planning to give you everything. But I wanted to do it right, legally protected so you could never lose it. I was trying to protect you, son, not cut you out. Tyler's eyes filled with tears, but before he could respond, Amber appeared at the venue entrance. She stood there watching us, arms crossed, a small, satisfied smile on her face. She was enjoying this. The division between father and son, the pain she had caused, it was all part of her plan. She walked over with confident steps, her wedding dress rustling, and linked her arm through Tyler's. Baby, come back inside. This is our wedding day. Your father is just being difficult because he cannot control you anymore. He had his chance to be part of our lives, and he chose to be selfish. I watched Tyler's face, saw the internal war playing out behind his eyes. He wanted to believe me, but Amber's voice was in his ear, her hand on his arm, her reality surrounding him. Tyler, I said quietly, I love you. I have always loved you. But I will not let anyone take what I have spent 40 years building, even if she has convinced you it is the right thing to do. Amber pulled Tyler gently back toward the venue. He resisted for a moment, looking at me with something like desperation. Then he gave in and let her lead him away. But he looked back twice, and I saw uncertainty in his face. Good. Uncertainty meant there was still hope. I started my truck and drove home as the sun began its descent toward the horizon. The farm appeared ahead, 300 acres of rolling fields and old fences, the white farmhouse sitting like a crown in the center of it all. Home, worth fighting for. I parked and went straight to my office, a small room off the kitchen that still smelled like my father's pipe tobacco, even though he had been gone 20 years. I pulled out every file, every folder, every piece of paper I had signed in the past 6 months. There, buried in a stack labeled Wedding Vendor Contracts, I found it. A document with legal language so dense and confusing I had skimmed it when I signed. But reading it carefully now, my blood turned to ice. Transfer on death deed, my signature at the bottom. A witness signature I did not recognize, and a clause that made my hands shake as I read it. The property would transfer to Tyler upon my death, but with language allowing Tyler to assume management immediately with spousal consent. Amber had maneuvered me into signing away control of my own land. My neighbor Dennis arrived 20 minutes later. I had sent him a quick text, and he came immediately, his old truck rattling up the driveway. We sat at the kitchen table, two old men feeling foolish and angry. "I tried to warn you about that woman," Dennis said, shaking his head. "Something about her eyes. Always calculating, always measuring. Like she was doing math in her head every time she looked at something." Dennis's nephew was a sheriff's deputy in the next county over. He mentioned that Amber's name had come up in an investigation 2 years ago, some complaint that never went anywhere. The details were vague, but it was enough to make Dennis suspicious. Headlights swept across the front windows. 2 cars pulled into the driveway. The first was a rental sedan. The second was an SUV. Samantha stepped out of the sedan, tall and professional, even in jeans and a blazer, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail. Behind her, a man in his 40s emerged from the SUV carrying a laptop case. I met them on the porch. Samantha hugged me hard, and I felt 10 years old again for just a moment, when she could still make everything better just by being there. Then she pulled back. "All business. This is Gregory Walsh, private investigator. I hired him 3 months ago when you first told me about Amber." I stared at her. "You have been investigating her?" Samantha's jaw was set. "Dad, you called me back in July. You mentioned Tyler was engaged to someone you had just met, someone who worked in real estate and seemed very interested in the farm. Something in your voice sounded off. So I hired Gregory to do a background check. Just in case. Turns out my instincts were right." Gregory nodded to me, then looked at Dennis. "Sir, you must be Dennis. Hunter mentioned you. Former Marine, right?" "Army, actually," Dennis corrected. 101st Airborne. Long time ago. "Thank you for your service," Gregory said. Then turned back to me. "Mr. Hunter, we need to go inside. I have information you need to see." We gathered around the kitchen table, and Gregory opened his laptop. What he showed us made me feel sick and vindicated at the same time. Amber Christine Hartley, age 29, real estate license, valid. But 6 years ago she was engaged to a wealthy widower in Vermont named Harold Pennington, 71 years old. They married in a small ceremony. 2 months later, Harold died of what was ruled natural causes, though his children suspected foul play. Autopsy was inconclusive. Amber inherited everything under a will that had been changed just weeks before his death. Harold's children sued, claiming undue influence and fraud. The case settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, and the records were sealed. But Gregory had found witnesses, people who worked in Harold's home, who said Amber isolated him from his family and controlled every aspect of his life in those final months. 4 years ago, Amber was involved with another man in Pennsylvania. Walter Bryce, 58, divorced, wealthy from a manufacturing business. That relationship ended with a restraining order after Walter's brother caught Amber forging Walter's signature on property documents. She left the state before charges could be filed. After that, she changed her approach. Instead of targeting elderly men directly, she started pursuing younger men who had aging parents with significant assets. Tyler was her third known target. Gregory had witness statements, financial records showing Amber's pattern of moving from state to state, even recordings of Amber talking to a friend about her long game. In one recording, barely audible but clear enough, Amber laughed about finding marks who were desperate for love and easy to control. I felt sick. This woman had targeted my son, manipulated him, isolated him from me, all as part of a calculated scheme to steal everything I had built. Samantha put her hand over mine. "Dad, the deed you signed is fraudulent. The notary signature is fake. The witness does not exist. We can void it. But the real problem is Tyler. Amber will use him as her shield. She will claim everything she did was for their marriage, that you are just a bitter old man who cannot let go. We need to expose her in a way that Tyler cannot ignore. What do you suggest?" Samantha smiled, and it was not a kind smile. It was the smile of a lawyer who had found a weakness in the opposing side's case. "We go back to that wedding reception, and we show everyone exactly who Amber really is. In front of all those witnesses, in front of Tyler, we burn her lies to the ground." Dennis leaned back in his chair. "When do we leave?" Samantha checked her watch. "Right now. The reception will still be going for another few hours. Let us go crash a wedding." We drove back in 2 vehicles, Samantha and Gregory in the rental, Dennis and me in my truck. The sun had fully set now, and the venue glowed with string lights visible from the road. Music drifted across the parking lot, something upbeat and celebratory. My stomach churned thinking about walking back in there, but I was not alone anymore. That made all the difference. We parked and walked toward the entrance. Samantha moved with purpose, her heels clicking on the pavement, Gregory beside her with his laptop case. Dennis walked on my other side, and I was grateful for his steady presence. The moment we entered, heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The music kept playing, but everything else seemed to freeze. I saw Tyler at the head table, his face going pale when he recognized Samantha. Amber stood at the microphone giving a speech about family and new beginnings, but her words died when she saw us. Tyler stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "Sam, what are you doing here?" The room erupted in confused murmurs. People craned their necks to see what was happening. I recognized faces in the crowd. Neighbors, friends from church, people I had known for decades. They had all witnessed my humiliation earlier. Now they were about to witness something else entirely. Samantha walked straight to the front, her posture radiating authority. She had commanded boardrooms and courtrooms, and now she commanded this wedding reception. Amber's eyes narrowed. "Who is this woman?" Tyler's voice was barely a whisper. "This is my sister Samantha." Amber's face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, then shock, then calculation, then poorly concealed rage. She had not known. Tyler had kept Samantha a secret, and now that secret was standing in front of her, holding all the cards Amber did not know existed. Samantha's voice carried across the silent room. "I apologize for interrupting this celebration, but there is something everyone needs to know about the bride. Information that directly affects my father's property and safety." Amber tried to grab the microphone. "This is insane. Security! Someone call security!" But Gregory stepped forward, holding up his credentials. "I am a licensed private investigator, and I have information relevant to a fraud being committed against Hunter. These people deserve to know who they are celebrating." The venue manager looked uncertain but did not intervene. The guests were riveted, nobody moving, barely breathing. Samantha connected Gregory's laptop to the venue's projection system. Within seconds, images appeared on the screen behind the head table. Court documents, newspaper clippings, photographs. She began to speak, laying out Amber's history with clinical precision. The Vermont widower, the Pennsylvania businessman, the pattern of targeting wealthy men, isolating them, forging documents, stealing assets. Every sentence was backed by evidence on the screen. Gregory had done his homework thoroughly. Tyler stood frozen, his face cycling through disbelief, horror, and slowly dawning realization. "Amber, tell them this is not true. Tell them she is lying." Amber's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing cold fury underneath. Then she composed herself and switched tactics with practiced ease. She clutched her stomach and let tears well up in her eyes. "I am pregnant," she said, her voice trembling. "Tyler, we are having a baby. That is what I was going to announce tonight. How dare she attack a pregnant woman on her wedding day?" The reaction was immediate. Gasps of sympathy from the crowd. Tyler rushed to her side, his hands hovering over her uncertainly. "Dad, she is pregnant. We cannot do this to her now." My heart sank. This was it. Amber had played her trump card, and the room was turning in her favor. I could see it in people's faces. Samantha looked cruel now, attacking a pregnant bride. Even I felt a moment of doubt. But Samantha did not flinch. Her expression remained calm, almost pitying. "That is impossible," she said quietly. She nodded to Gregory, who pulled up another document on the screen. Medical records from a clinic in Pennsylvania, dated 3 years prior. The header read clearly, "Post, operative follow, up, bilateral tubal ligation." These are Amber's medical records. She underwent a voluntary surgical sterilization 3 years ago. She cannot get pregnant. She is lying to manipulate you all right now, the same way she has been lying about everything else. The room erupted. People standing, shouting questions, chaos spreading like spilled water. Amber's face transformed from tearful victim to something else entirely, something hard and vicious. "Those records are fake! This is a violation of my privacy! You cannot do this!" But a woman in the crowd stood up, someone I did not recognize. She was younger, maybe 30, wearing a blue dress. "I was with you at that appointment, Amber. You told me you never wanted kids. You said they would ruin your body and your plans. I was your friend then, before you cut me out like you cut out everyone who knows the truth about you." Amber's face drained of color. The crowd turned on her in an instant, the sympathy evaporating, replaced by anger and disgust. Tyler backed away from her, his hands dropping to his sides. "You lied about being pregnant? What else have you lied about?" Amber grabbed his arm desperately. "Baby, I can explain. I was going to surprise you later. I just wanted to protect us from your family trying to tear us apart. They do not understand what we have. Your father wants to keep you dependent forever. Your sister abandoned you for years. I am the only one who truly loves you." Tyler pulled his arm free, and I saw something break in his eyes. The illusion shattering, the manipulation finally visible. Everything Dad said, everything Sam is showing us, is any of it true? Amber's face hardened. She looked around at the crowd, at Samantha, at me, and I saw her calculating one last play. Her eyes had the look of a cornered animal, dangerous and unpredictable. "Fine," she said coldly. "You want the truth?" "Yes, I researched your family. Yes, I saw an opportunity. This farm is worth millions, and your father was wasting it, letting it sit empty while the suburbs expand all around. I could have turned it into something profitable, something important. And you, Tyler, you were supposed to be on my side. You were supposed to be my partner, not just another mark." The admission stunned everyone into silence. Tyler looked like she had slapped him. "You called me a mark?" Amber's control was slipping fast, her mask fully off now. "What else would you call someone so desperate for love that he believed every word I said? You were easy, Tyler, easier than I expected. Angry at your sister, resentful of your father, looking for someone to tell you that you deserved more. I gave you exactly what you needed to hear." Tyler's face crumbled. He turned to me, tears streaming down his face. "Dad, I am so sorry. I am so sorry." I wanted to go to him, to hold him like I did when he was a boy. But Amber was not finished. She was spiraling now, words pouring out in a desperate torrent. "Your father thinks he is so noble, holding onto this land like some kind of legacy, but he is just a stubborn old man who cannot accept that the world has changed. That property could be worth 10 million if developed correctly, 20 million in a few years. And he just sits on it, playing farmer, acting like dirt and cows matter more than progress." People in the crowd began shouting at her. Someone yelled for her to leave. Another person called her a con artist. The venue manager was on his phone, probably calling actual security now. Amber looked around wildly, realizing she had lost completely. Her carefully constructed persona destroyed, her schemes exposed, her lies burned away. But she was not done fighting. She reached down toward the decorative bag she had placed near the head table earlier. When her hand came back up, she was holding a small revolver, black and cold and terrifyingly real. The screams were immediate. People dove under tables. Parents covered their children. Chaos exploded throughout the room. Amber pointed the gun at her own temple, her hand shaking. "If you all want to destroy my life, then fine. I will end it right here. Tyler, we can still leave. We can still have everything we planned. Just come with me, please." Tyler stood frozen, hands up, terror written across every feature. "Amber, put the gun down, please. Nobody needs to get hurt. I stepped forward slowly, my heart hammering. Amber, listen to me. Just put it down. We can figure this out. Nobody needs to die tonight. Her eyes swung to me, wild and desperate. This is all your fault. You could have just given Tyler what was his. You could have made this easy. But you had to be the noble father, the protective landowner. Well, look at you now. Pathetic, weak. You could not even keep your own family together. The words were meant to wound, and they did. But I kept moving slowly forward, trying to talk her down. Amber, you brought this gun for protection, right? You are a woman in a new place. That is reasonable. Nobody is saying you did anything wrong having it. But you do not need it now. Just put it down and we can all talk. Samantha was slowly circling to the side, trying to position herself for something, but I did not know what. Gregory had his phone out, probably already talking to 911. The music had stopped. The only sounds were Amber's ragged breathing and the quiet sobbing of frightened guests. Tyler, Amber pleaded, tears now streaming down her face. I love you. I really do. We can make this work. Your father wants to keep you dependent on him forever. Your sister abandoned you for years. I am the only one who saw your potential. Come with me, right now. We take that deed and we leave tonight. We can still have everything. Tyler was crying too, his whole body shaking. I do not know what to believe anymore. Then my son said something that broke my heart and mended it at the same time. But I know my dad would never betray me. I know my sister came back because she loves me. And I know you have been lying to me from the beginning. Amber's face twisted with rage. She swung the gun away from her own head and pointed it directly at me. Everything slowed down. I saw her finger on the trigger. I saw Tyler lunge forward. I saw Samantha's mouth open in a scream. And I saw Dennis move. For a 70-year-old man with bad knees and a hearing aid, he moved faster than should have been possible. His army training from 5 decades ago kicked in like he had never left the service. 3 swift movements. Step in, grab the wrist, turn, and lock. The gun clattered to the floor. Dennis had Amber's arm pinned behind her back before anyone else could react. She collapsed, screaming, cursing, spitting obscenities at all of us. The mask was completely gone now, replaced by raw ugliness and rage. Sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights swept through the windows. 4 police officers stormed in, hands on their weapons, taking in the chaotic scene. Gregory met them immediately, handing over a folder of evidence and explaining the situation in rapid, professional terms. An officer approached Amber, who was still restrained by Dennis. "Ma'am, we need you to calm down. Put your hands behind your back." They handcuffed her while reading her rights. Fraud, attempted coercion, assault with a deadly weapon, weapons violations. The list went on. As they lifted her to her feet, Amber's eyes locked on Tyler one last time. "You stupid, weak mama's boy. You were supposed to be easy. Your pathetic father was supposed to roll over. I could have made millions off that land. Millions. And you ruined it. All of you ruined everything." They dragged her toward the exit, her screaming fading as the doors closed behind them. The reception hall sat in stunned silence, 200 people processing what they had just witnessed. Tyler stood in the middle of it all, still in his tuxedo, his face pale and destroyed. He turned to me slowly. "Dad, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I married her. I actually married her. What do I do now?" I crossed the space between us and pulled him into my arms. He collapsed against me, sobbing like he had not done since he was a child. Samantha joined us, wrapping her arms around both of us, and we stood there holding each other while the world spun around us. Dennis approached quietly, his old hands still steady despite what he had just done. "You saved my dad's life," Tyler said, pulling back to look at him. Dennis shrugged. "Your dad saved mine more times than I can count over the years. That is what family does. And you are family, son. You made a mistake, but you are still family." Samantha, always practical, wiped her eyes and shifted into lawyer mode. "Tyler, we annul the marriage. With this evidence of fraud and deception, it will be fast. The marriage was based on false pretenses from the beginning. Legally, it will be like it never happened." Tyler nodded numbly, then looked around at the ruined reception. All these people, they all saw everything. I put my hand on his shoulder. "Let them see. Let them see that we stood up to someone who tried to destroy us. Let them see that family sticks together even when it is hard. There is no shame in that. The venue manager approached hesitantly. Mr. Hunter, I think we should probably end the reception, given the circumstances. I agreed. And slowly people began to leave, stopping to offer words of support or sympathy as they passed. Some looked at Tyler with pity, others with judgment, but most with understanding. Everyone makes mistakes. Not everyone has to face them in front of 200 witnesses. As the hall emptied, our small group remained. Me, Tyler, Samantha, Dennis, and Gregory packing up his equipment. We stood together in the space that had been decorated for celebration but had become something else entirely. A battleground. A place where truth won over deception, where family fought back and survived. Tyler looked at me with red, swollen eyes. I do not know how to fix this. I do not know how to make this right. You start by coming home, I said. You start by letting us help you heal. And we figure out the rest together. We drove back to the farm in convoy again, this time with Tyler riding with me. He sat in the passenger seat of my truck, staring out the window in silence, his tuxedo jacket crumpled in his lap. The night was dark except for our headlights cutting through it, the familiar roads leading us home. When we pulled up to the farmhouse, Tyler looked at it like he was seeing it for the first time, or maybe seeing it clearly for the first time in months. The porch light glowed warm and welcoming, exactly as I had left it. Inside, the kitchen was still a mess from where Dennis and I had spread out all my documents earlier. Samantha made coffee while Gregory set up his laptop again on the dining table. Tyler sat heavily in one of the kitchen chairs, his head in his hands. Dennis stood by the window, keeping watch like the soldier he had been, making sure Amber had no accomplices who might cause trouble. We need to look at every document carefully, Samantha said, pouring coffee into mismatched mugs. Dad, show me everything you signed in the past 6 months. I gathered the papers from my office and brought them to the table. The stack was thicker than I had realized. Property tax forms, insurance documents, vendor contracts for the wedding, and buried in the middle of it all, the deed transfer Amber had tricked me into signing. Samantha read through it with a lawyer's eye, making notes, her expression growing darker. This is worse than I thought. Look at this clause here. Transfer on death deed with immediate management rights upon spousal consent. Dad, if you had died, Tyler would have inherited, but with Amber as his wife, she could have taken control immediately. And this section here, it waives your right to revoke the deed without Tyler's signature. Can we void it? I asked. She pointed to the notary section. This notary seal is fake. The registration number does not exist in this county's database. I already checked while we were at the reception. Amber probably had a friend or relative pose as a notary. That makes the entire document invalid. But more than that, you signed under false pretenses. She told you this was wedding paperwork. That is fraud, plain and simple. Relief washed over me, but it was followed quickly by anger. She planned this so carefully, every detail. Gregory spoke up from his laptop. She has been planning it for over a year. I found social media posts where she was asking in private groups about property law in this state. She researched elder fraud, undue influence, how to structure inheritance challenges. She knew exactly what she was doing. Tyler made a choking sound. I brought her into your life, Dad. I am the one who fell for her lies. I am the one who helped her get close enough to do this. Son, you were a victim too, I said gently. She manipulated you just like she tried to manipulate me. But I should have known better. Tyler's voice cracked. There were signs. So many signs. She always had answers for everything. She always knew exactly what to say to make me doubt you, to make me doubt myself. And I wanted someone to love me. I wanted someone to think I was worth something. The words hit me like a punch. You have always been worth something. You have always been loved. Tyler shook his head. Mom died when I was 22. Sam left for Chicago and we fought and she never came back. You were always working, always busy with the farm. I felt alone. And then Amber showed up and she made me feel important. She acted like I was special, like I had potential that nobody else could see. It felt good to be wanted like that. Samantha set down her coffee mug with a sharp clink. Tyler, I left because you told me to leave. You said I did not care about this family, that I was selfish. You said you never wanted to see me again. Because you were always better than me. Tyler shot back. Better grades, better career, better at everything. And then Mom died and you got her jewelry and her savings, and I got nothing but debt from my failed businesses and Dad's disappointment. I never disappointed you, I said firmly. I worried about you. I wanted you to find your path. But I never stopped loving you or believing in you. The kitchen fell silent except for the old clock ticking on the wall, decades of hurt and misunderstanding sitting heavy between us. Samantha spoke quietly. Tyler, Mom left you the truck and the tools and the workshop equipment. She left me jewelry because she knew you would not want it. And she did not leave me savings. She left both of us equal shares of her life insurance, which you spent starting that construction business that failed. I used mine for law school. We both got the same amount. You just made different choices with it. Tyler stared at her. That is not what I remember. That is what happened, Samantha said. I have the paperwork if you want to see it. I think you were so hurt about losing Mom that you convinced yourself everyone else had it better, that everyone else was against you. And Amber found that wound and poured salt in it until you could not see straight. Dennis cleared his throat from his position by the window. If I may say something, he began. I have known this family a long time. I watched Tyler grow up. I remember when Sarah died and how hard that was on all of you. And I will tell you something true. Hurt people hurt people. You were all hurting. And you hurt each other because you did not know how else to deal with the pain. But family is not about never making mistakes. It is about choosing to forgive and move forward together. The simple wisdom of it hung in the air. Tyler wiped his eyes roughly with his sleeve. I do not know how to move forward from this, he said. Everyone saw what happened tonight. Everyone knows I married a con artist. Everyone knows I almost helped her steal from my own father. How do I face anyone in this town again? You face them honestly, I said. You admit you made a mistake. You make it right. And you let the people who love you help carry the weight. Gregory closed his laptop. Mr. Hunter, I need to tell you something else. The woman who spoke up at the reception, the one who confirmed Amber's medical history, she contacted me 2 weeks ago. She was one of Amber's old friends who got suspicious when she saw engagement photos on social media. She has been trying to warn potential victims, but Amber kept moving before anyone could stop her. There are at least 4 other women like her, people Amber burned in the past. They are willing to testify in court. That means Amber is not getting out of this, Samantha added. Between the fraud, the assault, the weapons charges, and now multiple witnesses willing to testify to a pattern of behavior, she is looking at serious prison time. The district attorney is going to love this case. Good, Tyler said with sudden vehemence. She deserves it. She hurt Dad. She hurt me. She probably hurt other people we do not even know about. She deserves to pay for all of it. It was the first time all night I heard real anger in his voice directed at Amber instead of at himself. That was progress. We spent the next 2 hours going through every document, every piece of evidence, building a complete picture of what Amber had done. Samantha took notes in her precise legal handwriting, already building the case we would need to present to formally void the deed and potentially pursue charges for attempted theft. Around midnight, Gregory packed up to head back to his hotel. Dennis said his goodbyes and drove home with a promise to come back in the morning. That left just the 3 of us, father and children, sitting in the kitchen where we had shared so many meals over the years. Tyler broke the silence. Sam, I owe you an apology, a real one. For the things I said 5 years ago. For cutting you out of my life. For being too proud to reach out. You were right about a lot of things and I was too angry to admit it. Samantha's eyes shimmered with tears. I owe you one too. I should have tried harder to stay connected. I should have come home more. I let my anger and my pride keep me away, and that was wrong. We are family. That should have mattered more than winning an argument. They looked at each other across the table, and something shifted. Not complete healing, that would take time, but the first real step toward it. Can we start over? Tyler asked. Samantha reached across and took his hand. We can try. That is all any of us can do. Try to be better than we were. I sat there watching my children reconnect, and despite everything that had happened, despite the pain and betrayal and chaos, I felt something like hope. Tyler turned to me. Dad, can I stay here for a while? I do not think I can go back to the apartment. Too many memories of her. This is your home, I said. It always has been. Stay as long as you need. He nodded, fresh tears sliding down his face. Thank you for not giving up on me, for fighting for me even when I was too stupid to see what was happening. You are my son. I will always fight for you." We sat together in the warm kitchen, the three of us, family fractured and now beginning to mend. Outside, the farm slept peacefully under the stars. 300 acres of legacy and love and hard work. Tomorrow we would start the legal process of undoing Amber's damage. Tomorrow we would face the questions and judgment of our community. Tomorrow we would begin the long work of healing. But tonight, we were together. And that was enough. The next morning arrived with pale sunlight streaming through my bedroom window. I woke early from habit, the rooster crowing somewhere in the distance, and for a moment I forgot everything that had happened. Then memory crashed back, and I lay there staring at the ceiling, processing it all again. Tyler was asleep in his old bedroom down the hall. Samantha had taken the guest room. Having them both under my roof felt strange and wonderful at the same time. Like pieces of my life that had been scattered were finally coming back together. I made coffee and found Samantha already in the kitchen, dressed in fresh clothes she must have bought in town, her laptop open and papers spread across the table. She looked up when I entered. "Morning, Dad. I have been emailing with the county clerk's office. They have agreed to an emergency hearing this afternoon to void the fraudulent deed. We just need to bring the original document and our evidence." That was fast. I can be persuasive when necessary. She smiled, but it did not quite reach her eyes. I also called Mom's old lawyer, the one who handled her estate. He remembers our family and offered to represent us pro bono. He hates elder fraud cases. "I am not elderly yet," I protested, but without much conviction. "You are 68, Dad. In legal terms, that is elderly enough for enhanced fraud protections. We will use every advantage we have." Tyler appeared in the doorway looking rough. His hair stuck up at odd angles and his eyes were puffy from crying. He had changed out of his tuxedo into old jeans and a t-shirt he must have found in his closet. It made him look younger, more like the son I remembered before Amber entered our lives. "Morning," he mumbled, heading straight for the coffee pot. We sat around the table, 3 generations of morning people who had always done their best thinking over coffee and sunrise. It felt right. Dennis arrived around 8 with fresh pastries from the bakery in town. "I saw Betty at the store," he reported. "She was asking about what happened at the reception. Word has spread fast." "What did you tell her?" I asked. I told her the truth. That a con artist tried to steal your land and your family fought back and won. She seemed impressed. Tyler groaned and put his head in his hands. "Everyone is going to be talking about this for years." "Let them talk," Samantha said firmly. "You did nothing wrong except trust the wrong person. That is not a crime." It feels like one. The morning passed in preparation for the hearing. Samantha drilled me on what to expect, what questions the judge might ask, how to present our evidence clearly. Tyler mostly stayed quiet, processing everything, occasionally asking questions about what would happen to Amber. "She is being held without bail," Samantha explained. "Given the weapons charge and the flight risk assessment, the judge denied bond this morning. Her arraignment is next week." "Will I have to testify?" Tyler asked. "Probably, but not today. Today is just about voiding the fraudulent deed. Your testimony will come later if this goes to trial, though I suspect Amber's attorney will push for a plea deal once they see how much evidence we have." At 1 o'clock, we drove to the county courthouse. It was a grand old building from the early 1900s, all limestone and columns, sitting in the center of town square. As we walked up the steps, I saw people watching from nearby businesses. Some waved supportively, others just stared. Inside, the courtroom was smaller than I expected, wood-paneled and formal. The judge was a woman in her 50s named Patricia Holbrook, someone I vaguely knew from church functions years ago. She nodded to me as we entered, her expression professional but not unkind. The hearing was quick and efficient. Samantha presented the fraudulent deed, the evidence of the fake notary, the documentation of my signing under false pretenses, and Gregory's background report on Amber's history of similar schemes. The judge listened carefully, asked a few clarifying questions, and then made her ruling. "This deed is void," she declared. "Fraudulently obtained documents have no legal standing. Mr. Hunter, your property rights are fully restored and protected. I am also issuing a restraining order preventing Amber Hartley or any representatives from contacting you or attempting to access your property." Relief flooded through me so completely I had to sit down. Tyler squeezed my shoulder. Samantha allowed herself a small, satisfied smile. The judge continued, I am additionally referring this matter to the district attorney for potential criminal charges beyond those already filed. Attempted property theft of this magnitude, especially targeting an elderly property owner, is something this county takes very seriously. We left the courthouse to find a small crowd had gathered outside. News vans from 2 local stations were parked across the street. A reporter approached with a microphone, but Samantha stepped in smoothly. My father will not be making a statement at this time. The matter is now in the hands of law enforcement and the courts. Thank you. She guided us to the truck, blocking cameras with her body until we were safely inside. As we drove away, I saw people in the crowd pointing and talking. Tyler slumped down in his seat, trying to be invisible. I hate this, he muttered. Everyone staring, everyone knowing. They are not staring at you, son. They are looking at a family that stood up to someone trying to hurt them. There is no shame in that. We stopped at the diner on the way home, figuring we needed real food after the stress of the hearing. The moment we walked in, conversations quieted. But then Martha, who had been serving pie there for 30 years, came straight over and hugged me. Hunter, I heard what happened. I am so sorry that woman did that to you, but I am proud of how you fought back. Others came over too. Friends, acquaintances, people offering support. Some shook Tyler's hand and told him they were glad he was okay. A few gave him harder looks, but most were kind. Small towns can be judgmental, but they can also rally around their own when it matters. Tyler seemed surprised by the support. I thought everyone would hate me, he said quietly as we sat in a back booth. People understand being fooled, I said. Most folks have been lied to at some point. What matters is what you do after you realize it. We ate lunch while Samantha answered emails from other lawyers at her firm, handling work remotely. She had already told them she would be staying a few extra days to help sort out the family situation. Her boss had been understanding, even supportive. As we were finishing our meals, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost declined, but something made me answer. Mr. Hunter? This is Detective Carlos Ramirez with the County Sheriff's Department. I am investigating the Amber Hartley case. I was wondering if you and your son might be available to come in and give formal statements. We scheduled it for the following morning, and the detective thanked me before hanging up, another step in the long process of making sure Amber faced full consequences for what she had tried to do. That evening, back at the farm, we sat on the front porch watching the sun set over the fields. The cattle grazed peacefully in the distance. A hawk circled overhead looking for field mice. Everything looked exactly as it always had, yet everything felt different. Tyler spoke into the comfortable silence. I have been thinking about what I want to do next. I cannot go back to my old job. Too many people there knew Amber. Too many memories. What do you want to do? Samantha asked. He looked out at the land, at the farm that had been his childhood and his legacy. I want to learn how to run this place, really learn it. Dad has been trying to teach me for years, and I only paid half attention because I thought I was meant for something bigger. But maybe this is exactly where I am supposed to be. My throat tightened with emotion. I would like that. I would like that very much. We will need to be partners, though, Tyler continued, not just you teaching me. Actually working together, making decisions together. I need to earn back your trust, and I need to learn how to trust my own judgment again. Samantha leaned back in her chair. I could work remotely more often. Come down once a month, stay for weekends. Help with the legal side of things, make sure the estate planning is bulletproof. Actually be part of this family instead of just visiting twice a year. I looked at my children, these 2 people I loved more than anything, who had been scattered and broken and were now finding their way back together, back to each other, back to me, back to this land that held all our memories. Your mother would be proud, I said softly, of both of you, of how you came together when it mattered. We sat there as darkness fell and the stars emerged, talking about plans and possibilities and how to move forward. The road ahead would not be easy. Tyler would need therapy to process the manipulation he had endured. Samantha would need to balance her demanding career with more frequent family involvement. I would need to learn how to share control of the farm I had run alone for so long. But we would do it together. And that made all the difference. 3 days after the hearing, we received word that Amber wanted to make a statement. Detective Ramirez called to let us know she had requested a meeting with Tyler specifically, claiming she had information that would change everything. It is probably a manipulation tactic, Samantha warned. She wants to get him alone and try to work her way back into his head. Tyler set his jaw firmly. I will go, but only if you and Dad come with me, and only at the police station where she cannot pull anything. The detective agreed to arrange it. The meeting was set for the following afternoon at the county sheriff's department. Samantha prepared Tyler like she would a witness in a trial, running through potential manipulation techniques Amber might use, reminding him of the evidence of her lies. When we arrived at the station, we were led to an interview room. Amber sat on one side of a table, hands cuffed in front of her, wearing an orange jumpsuit. She looked smaller than I remembered, her makeup gone, her hair pulled back simply. She looked almost vulnerable. Almost. Her eyes lit up when Tyler entered. Baby, thank God. I knew you would come. I knew you still loved me. Tyler sat down across from her, his face carefully neutral. Samantha and I stood against the wall with Detective Ramirez observing. A camera in the corner recorded everything. I am here to listen to whatever you have to say, Tyler said quietly. That is all. Amber leaned forward as much as her restraints allowed. Tyler, everything they told you about me is wrong. Those court documents are fake. That woman who claimed to be my friend is lying because I rejected her advances years ago. Your sister paid people to make me look bad because she wants your inheritance for herself. The lies flowed smoothly, each one calculated to create doubt. I watched Tyler's face carefully, looking for signs that she was getting to him. But he remained steady. Detective Ramirez has verified all the evidence independently, Tyler said. Multiple police departments confirmed your history. You are facing 8 felony charges across 3 states. Stop lying. Amber's expression flickered, the mask slipping. I am pregnant, Tyler. I lied about the surgery. I had it reversed. We are having a baby. Your baby. Do you really want your child born while their mother is in prison? You cannot have had a tubal ligation reversed, Samantha interjected coldly. The medical records show you had them completely removed, not just tied. There is nothing left to reverse. And you have been in custody for 3 days. You are not pregnant. Stop trying to manipulate him. Amber's face twisted with rage, the vulnerable act dropping completely. Fine. You want the truth? I will give you the truth. Yes, I researched your family. Yes, I saw an opportunity. Your father is sitting on millions of dollars of prime development land and doing nothing with it. He is wasting it on cows and nostalgia while property values skyrocket. I could have made that land worth $20 million, $30 million with the right development. We could have been rich beyond anything your pathetic farm life could offer. So it was always about the money, Tyler said. Never about me. You were a means to an end, Amber spat. A way to access the land. But you know what? You were also weak. So desperate for love that you believed everything I said. So resentful of your father that you were ready to help me take everything from him. You were pathetic. The words were meant to wound, and I saw Tyler flinch. But then he straightened his shoulders and looked her dead in the eye. You are right about one thing. I was desperate. I was hurting. I was looking for someone to validate me and make me feel important, and you exploited that. You found every wound I had, and you made them worse so you could control me. But that does not make me pathetic. That makes me human. What makes you pathetic is that you spent months of your life manipulating people instead of building anything real. You have no real relationships, no real accomplishments, nothing but lies and theft. I may have been fooled, but at least I can learn and grow. You will just keep being exactly what you are until you end up alone in a cell. Amber lunged across the table, her cuffed hands reaching for him. Tyler did not even flinch. A guard stepped in immediately, pulling her back. You will regret this, she screamed. All of you, I will fight these charges. I will get out and I will take everything from you. Detective Ramirez stepped forward. Miss Hartley, this interview is over. You have just threatened witnesses on camera. Your lawyer is going to love that. As they dragged her away, still screaming threats, Tyler sat very still, his hands flat on the table. Samantha moved to his side immediately. Are you okay? He nodded slowly. Yeah. Actually, I think I am. She cannot hurt me anymore. I can see exactly what she is now. I do not love her. I do not even feel sorry for her. I just feel free. We left the station and drove home in comfortable silence. Tyler stared out the window at the passing fields, but his expression was peaceful now, not tormented. That evening we received another call from Detective Ramirez. "I thought you should know," he said. "Amber's attorney just contacted us. She wants to take a plea deal. She knows she is looking at 20 years if this goes to trial, with all the charges across multiple states. The DA is considering an offer of 12 years with parole eligibility after 8 if she pleads guilty to everything and makes full restitution." "What does that mean for us?" I asked. "It means she admits guilt, pays back any monetary damages, and you never have to see her in court. The investigation stays open for any other victims who come forward, but your part is essentially over. You just need to decide if you support the plea deal or if you want to push for trial." I looked at Tyler and Samantha. "What do you think?" Tyler answered first. "I do not need to watch her in a courtroom. I do not need to relive any of this publicly. If she admits what she did and goes to prison, that is enough for me." Samantha nodded. "A trial would be stressful and time-consuming. The plea deal guarantees she faces consequences and gives you closure. I recommend accepting it." I told the detective we supported the plea. He thanked us and said he would keep us updated on the process. 2 weeks later we attended Amber's plea hearing. She stood before Judge Holbrook looking small and defeated, flanked by her attorney and several bailiffs. She pleaded guilty to all charges: fraud, attempted theft, assault, weapons violations. The judge sentenced her to 12 years in state prison with the possibility of parole after 8. Amber never looked at us during the hearing. She kept her eyes down, her voice flat as she answered the judge's questions. As they led her away, I felt no triumph, no satisfaction, just relief that it was finally over. Tyler stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder. "It is done," he said quietly. "We can move forward now." 3 weeks after Amber's sentencing, life began to find a new normal. Tyler had officially moved back into his old room at the farmhouse, and we had started the process of turning him into a real partner in running the farm rather than just a helper. Samantha had negotiated with her firm to work remotely 1 week out of every month, spending that time at the farm helping with legal matters and reconnecting with family. I woke one morning to find Tyler already on the porch with 2 mugs of coffee, watching the sun rise over the east pasture. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, promising a beautiful day. I joined him, taking the offered coffee. "You are up early." "Could not sleep. Been thinking a lot." He paused, watching a deer pick its way across the far field. "Dad, I want to apologize again, properly, for everything." "Son, you have already apologized, multiple times." "I know, but I need to say this." He turned to look at me directly. "I was angry at you for years, for being so dedicated to this farm that I felt like I came second, for not being able to save Mom, for not being successful enough to make you proud. None of that was your fault, but I blamed you anyway. And when Amber showed up and told me what I wanted to hear, that you were the problem and she was the solution, I jumped at it. I chose to believe her lies because they were easier than admitting I was the one who needed to change. I listened, letting him get it all out. "But here is what I have learned," Tyler continued. "You were never the problem. This farm was never the problem. My failures were not your fault. I was so busy being resentful that I could not see how much you loved me, how much you were trying to protect me and provide for me. Amber did not create my issues. She just exploited the ones that were already there. We all have issues," I said gently. "We all have wounds. What matters is how we heal from them. I want to heal. I want to be better, and I want to learn everything you have to teach me about running this place. Not because I feel obligated, but because I finally understand what it means. This land is not just dirt and crops. It is legacy. It is family. It is something worth protecting and passing down." My throat tightened with emotion. "That is all I ever wanted you to understand." Samantha's car pulled up the driveway right on schedule. She had flown in the night before and stayed at a hotel in town, wanting to surprise us with an early arrival. She stepped out carrying bags of groceries and a wide smile. "I am making Mom's pot roast tonight," she announced. "We are having a proper family dinner. No more takeout, no more crisis management, just family." We spent the day working together. I taught Tyler about the irrigation system that needed repairs before spring planting. Samantha helped organize my disaster of a filing system, creating digital backups of every important document. Dennis stopped by around noon and ended up staying to help fix a section of fence that had come down in a recent storm. As evening approached, the farmhouse filled with the smell of cooking meat and vegetables, fresh bread warming in the oven. It was a smell from my childhood, from my mother's kitchen, carried forward through my wife to my daughter. Continuity, tradition, love expressed through care and feeding. We gathered around the old oak table that had been in this house since my grandfather's time. The same table where I had done homework as a boy, where I had proposed to my wife, where I had held my children as babies, where I had signed countless documents related to this farm. Now it held 4 plates, 4 glasses of sweet tea, and a serving dish full of pot roast surrounded by potatoes and carrots. Dennis raised his glass. To new beginnings and old bonds. We clinked glasses and drank, then dug into the meal. The conversation flowed naturally, touching on plans for spring planting, Samantha's upcoming court cases, memories of Sarah, and how much she would have loved seeing us all together again. After dinner, I pulled out the revised estate documents that Samantha and I had been working on for the past 2 weeks. "This is the new plan," I said, spreading the papers across the cleared table. "The farm goes into a family trust. Tyler and Samantha are equal beneficiaries. Neither of you can sell any portion without the other's consent and approval from the trustee, which will initially be Dennis, since I trust him to be fair and sensible. The trust protects the land from creditors, divorce settlements, and any future con artists. It ensures this farm stays in our family for generations." Tyler's eyes filled with tears. "You are still trusting me with this? After everything? You are my son. That never changed. Not for 1 second. Even when you were helping her, even when you believed her lies, you were still my son, and I still loved you. Love does not stop because someone makes a mistake." Samantha reached across and took Tyler's hand. "And you are my brother. I am sorry I stayed away for so long. I am sorry pride kept me from being here when you needed me." "I am sorry I pushed you away," Tyler replied. "I am sorry for the things I said 5 years ago. You were right about a lot of it, and I was too stubborn to admit it." They embraced, really embraced, for the first time in years. I looked away to give them privacy, catching Dennis's eye. He smiled and nodded, understanding what this moment meant. "When we all had composed ourselves," Samantha said, "I have something to add. I talked to my firm and they approved a permanent remote arrangement. I can work from anywhere with good internet. So I am thinking about buying the old Peterson place next door when it goes on sale next month. I could have my own space but still be close enough to help with the farm and actually be part of this family again." The Peterson place had 40 acres bordering our eastern property line. It had been empty since old Mr. Peterson passed the previous winter, and his children had been trying to sell it. Having Samantha that close felt like a dream I had not dared to imagine. "I think that is a wonderful idea," I said. Tyler agreed enthusiastically. "We could knock down the fence line between the properties, combine operations. You would still own your land separately, but we could farm it together." We spent the next hour discussing possibilities and plans, the conversation filled with excitement and hope instead of pain and suspicion. Eventually, Dennis excused himself to head home, and we walked him to his truck. "You did good, Hunter," he said quietly. "Your family is healing. You stood firm when it mattered, and now you are reaping the rewards. I could not have done it without you. You saved my life when Amber had that gun. I will never forget that." He waved it off. "That is what family does. And you are family to me, all of you. I never had kids of my own, but watching yours grow up gave me some of the same joy. I am glad I could help protect that." After he left, the 3 of us returned to the porch to watch the stars emerge. The night was cool and clear, the kind of evening that made you grateful to be alive and aware and present in the moment. Tyler broke the silence. "I have been thinking about what Amber said, about me being weak because I wanted love and validation. Part of me worries she was right." "She was not right," I said firmly. "Wanting love does not make you weak. It makes you human. What would have made you weak is giving up after you realized you had been fooled. But you did not give up. You stood up, you fought back, you chose truth over comfortable lies. That takes strength." Samantha added, "We all need love and connection. That is not weakness, it is biology and psychology, and what makes us human. Amber's real weakness was that she could not understand real love. She only understood manipulation. So she mistook your humanity for weakness, and that mistake is why she is in prison and you are free." Tyler nodded slowly, processing this. "So what is the lesson here? What am I supposed to learn from all this?" I thought about it carefully before answering. I learned that secrecy, even with good intentions, creates opportunities for liars. I should have been open with you about my estate planning instead of keeping it a surprise. That gap in communication gave Amber space to plant her lies. I learned that family fractures create vulnerabilities that predators exploit. If you and Sam had still been talking, she would have warned you about Amber immediately. And I learned that justice sometimes requires patience and help. I could not fight Amber alone. I needed Sam, I needed Dennis, I needed Gregory. Asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom. Tyler considered this. I learned that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. I learned that real love tells you hard truths, not just what you want to hear. And I learned that the people who really love you will fight for you even when you do not deserve it, even when you have hurt them. Dad, you had every right to write me off after what I did, but you did not. You fought for me anyway. That is real love. Samantha spoke last. I learned that career success means nothing if you are alone. I learned that pride and stubbornness nearly cost me my family. I learned that it is never too late to come home and rebuild relationships if everyone is willing to try, and I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you were wrong and ask for a second chance. We sat together as the stars brightened overhead, each lost in our own thoughts, but connected by shared experience and renewed commitment to each other. "I spent 40 years building this farm," I said finally, "clearing fields, mending fences, raising cattle, paying off debts. I thought that was my legacy, the land I would leave behind. But I realized something through all of this. The land is just dirt and grass. What matters is the people you share it with and the values you pass down." Amber tried to take my property, but she accidentally gave me back something more valuable, my family, whole again. "She failed because she did not understand that," Tyler said quietly. "She failed because she thought love was a weakness to exploit," I agreed. "But real love, the kind that survives betrayal and comes back stronger, that is the most powerful force there is. It is what allowed me to keep fighting for you even when you were working against me. It is what brought Sam home on a moment's notice. It is what made Dennis risk his safety to protect me. Love is not weakness. Love is strength." Samantha raised her glass of tea, which she had brought out from dinner. "To Dad, who taught us that justice is not about revenge. It is about standing firm in the truth and never giving up on the people you love." We toasted as the night deepened around us. "To second chances," Dennis had said earlier. "For all of us." The following weeks brought continued healing. Tyler threw himself into learning the farm operations with genuine enthusiasm, asking questions, taking notes, working from dawn to dusk beside me. The physical labor seemed to help him process everything he had been through. Samantha finalized the purchase of the Peterson property and began planning renovations. I started sleeping better, the constant worry and stress finally lifting. Amber remained in prison, and we did not speak of her often. She was part of our past now, a lesson learned, a danger overcome. The town gradually stopped gossiping about the wedding disaster and moved on to other news. Tyler started attending a support group for people who had been in manipulative relationships, and he came back from each meeting a little lighter, a little more confident in his own judgment. 6 months after Amber's sentencing, we held a small celebration at the farm to mark Samantha's completion of her house renovation and Tyler's official partnership in the farm operations. Friends and family gathered on the lawn, children running between the adults, music playing from a speaker someone had set up. It was everything the wedding reception should have been. Genuine joy, real connection, celebration of family. Martha from the diner approached me as I stood watching it all. "Hunter," she said warmly, "I just want you to know how much you have inspired people in this town. The way you fought back against that woman, the way you protected your family and your land, it gave a lot of folks courage to stand up for themselves in their own situations." I had not thought about it that way. We just did what we had to do. That is exactly why it matters. You did not give up even when it was hard. You did not let pride or hurt feelings keep you from asking for help. You showed people that it is never too late to fight for what is right. Tyler and Samantha found me a little later as the sun began to set, painting the sky in familiar colors. We stood together at the edge of the porch, looking out over the land that had caused so much conflict and now represented so much hope. Tyler spoke first. "Dad, I want you to know I am happy. Actually happy. For the first time in years, I am not pretending or trying to be something I am not. I am just here, doing this work, being part of this family. It is enough. It is more than enough." Samantha added, "I never realized how much I missed this place until I came back. The city is exciting, the career is fulfilling, but this is home. This is where I am supposed to be, at least part of the time." I looked at my children, these two people who had come so close to being permanently broken apart, now standing united and strong. Your mother would be so proud of both of you, of how you fought for each other when it mattered, of how you chose forgiveness over bitterness, of how you came home. We stood together as the celebration continued behind us and the sun sank toward the horizon. The farm spread out in all directions, 300 acres of legacy and love and hard-won wisdom. I thought about all the lessons we had learned. That trust must be earned but also freely given to those who deserve it. That family fractures create vulnerabilities that predators will exploit. That secrecy, even with good intentions, breeds suspicion. That love makes us vulnerable, but also makes us strong when we stand together. That justice comes not from revenge, but from truth and patience. That it is never too late to heal if everyone is willing to try. And I thought about the most important lesson of all. True wealth is not measured in acres or dollars, but in relationships built on truth, trust, and the courage to fight for those you love, even when they have hurt you. Family is not just blood. It is choosing to stand together even after betrayal. It is having the wisdom to protect what matters without becoming hardened by bitterness. Amber had tried to take everything from us. Instead, she had inadvertently given us the greatest gift, the chance to rebuild our family stronger than before, to learn from our mistakes, to appreciate what we had nearly lost. As darkness fell and the party lights came on, illuminating happy faces and genuine laughter, I felt at peace. The farm was secure, the family was whole, the future was bright. And that, after everything, was the greatest victory of all. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between protecting what you have built and protecting your relationship with someone you love? How did you handle that impossible choice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear your stories and what you learned from them. If this story touched you or made you think about your own family relationships, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories about life, family, and the lessons we learn when facing our hardest challenges. Share this video with someone who might need to hear that it is never too late to fight for the people you love. Thank you for listening to my story. May you always have the courage to stand firm in truth, the wisdom to ask for help when you need it, and the grace to forgive those who have hurt you. Family is worth fighting for, and love, real love, always finds a way. Until next time, take care of each other.